What have your thoughts been leading up to this UK general election?
I've been pretty underwhelmed, to be honest, by pretty much everyone. But I was kind of hoping that Labour might be able to make a bit of a stronger case for why things have turned out the way they are.
Okay.
It seems like they've done a lot of kind of telling everyone that the Tories are really bad, but not actually saying why, and not using the opportunity to kind of dismantle the ideas.
Are you going to be voting in this
Of course, like everyone should.
Very nice. What kind of things are important to you when you're voting?
Well, in this case, all I want is change.
Okay.
14 years of hell on earth, an embarrassment. Anything would be better. A lettuce.
Would be better.
Yeah.
Wow. That kind of happened last time. Did you see when Liz Truss was up
Yeah.
against it? Yeah. What do you think of the two candidates and the parties?
That'd be nice. I don't think either of them that good. I feel like you're more voting for like the party's policies than like actually a leader anymore. I feel like Rishi's not very effective, and I don't really like Keir Starmer.
Do you think you'll be voting in the upcoming UK election?
I will 100% be voting in the next UK election, yes.
Okay. Why are you so keen? Why 100%?
I didn't vote when I was younger. I voted, I can't remember the year it was, but I voted in the year of what became the coalition. And I
Nick
did
Clegg and David
Nick Clegg and David Cameron. And I was quite embarrassed that I hadn't. I'm 46 now, so that would have been, I was in my 30s. Politics wasn't on my radar. And I really researched that year, and I was very much let down by the Liberal Democrat decision. So since then, I've been extremely politically active, and it's very important for me to vote.
What are your thoughts ahead of the UK election?
My thoughts, nothing's really changed from years ago. I still believe like we're in the same place moving forward. I don't feel like there's anyone else who's going to particularly change the way our country's being run at the moment. Rishi Sunak's obviously in right now, but I don't believe that Keir Starmer is remotely going to back any word that he says.
What do you think of the two prime ministerial candidates?
Well, it's a low bar on one, but like I said, I'm just interested in a change. I think a change is good. It'll make people think differently. It gives an excuse for people to be happy again. You know, it can't be worse.
Okay.
But if we're going to complain, you have to vote, so you get the right to complain. You're never going to get the perfect answer, so you've got two options. Do I want the same, or do I want a chance for something to be different?
Okay.
That's it.
What do you think about this UK general election and the fact that a lot of Gen Z are going to be voting for the first time?
I think like a lot of Gen Z are like voting now because they realize like now is a really important time for like politics, because like a lot of like things going on around the world, like I mean war and like, you know, like economic issues, like the cost of living crisis. So people are actually starting to like open their eyes to like what's going on around the world, and like they're like now is important because your voice matters. Like yeah, so I think it's like Gen Z, especially like the younger generation, like they're realizing how like they like would make so much of a difference if they actually like voted. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm going to vote.
Oh wow.
Still toying with will obviously our votes do make a difference, and obviously who does go in, but I don't know. This year's I don't know. I don't feel like I probably will vote this year. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you usually vote?
Yeah. Quite, locally, I tend to vote for everything that happens in our local areas because I feel like they make it a bigger difference than the whole. But as for the Prime Minister, I still believe it's going to be the same things, same outcome.
Wow. So what things are important to you as you're voting now?
The things that are important to me are very challenging, because honesty is really important to me and transparency is really important to me, and I do feel a little bit in the wilderness at the moment because I don't believe those beliefs are held by any of the political leaders. I do believe they're held by the local politicians in some cases, but I'm a bit lost at the moment.
Interesting. Do you think a lot of people are in the same boat as you?
I think a lot of people that would normally vote for Labour, like me, are very much left in the wilderness at the moment, especially on the stance towards what's happening in Gaza and Palestine by the Labour. I said I can tell you who I won't be voting for, but I can't tell you who I will necessarily vote for in a few days' time.
Who will you not be voting for?
I will not be voting for the Conservatives.
Okay. And why?
Because they have destroyed this country over the time they've been in power, in my opinion.
How much do you trust some of the prime ministerial candidates and like politicians? Obviously the two key ones, Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak. How much do you trust them?
I don't trust Rishi Sunak for one bit.
No, neither.
I don't.
Absolutely not.
I can't stand him, to be honest. I mean, the party have lied to the public for so many years now. I think there's been so many scandals, from like the parties in lockdown to the even lying recently about. What were they lying about the other day? They're just constantly lying. I can't
keep track of the
I feel like the
lies.
most recent thing was Rishi Sunak saying he had it hard because he didn't have Sky TV growing up, which is just a bit of a mockery to all of the people who can't afford to eat or heat their homes and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't really trust them. I think with all of them, there's sort of maybe a bit of like self-serving.
That's very interesting that you say the Gaza situation is so important to you when you're voting. Why is that?
I think, regardless of your political stance, I think there is a moral stance in regards to what goes on in the world, and I think, I hate the phrase, it's a tricky situation, but I think from a humanitarian point of view, it just shows where our government lies in regards to where its funding and money comes from, and I think it's very much a monetary decision, and the fact that the Labour Party aren't standing up to it as a humanitarian crisis and making a stance one way or another is very challenging for me.
Okay, and do you think that's something that's always been the values of the Labour Party, or do you think this has changed?
I think with the anti-Semitism accusations against the Labour Party, which I do believe are valid, I think it's muddied the waters for Keir Starmer a lot to do the right thing. So I do understand that challenge, but I equally don't excuse the reasons for not making a particular stance one way or another.
What kind of things matter to you most when you're heading to vote? And thinking about who you're going to vote for?
Yeah, to be honest, integrity is a big one, which feels very much missing from pretty much everyone as well, as far as I can see. I think people willing to actually invest in the country and kind of maybe take some slightly tougher stances in terms, everyone's promising not to raise taxes and not to do all these things, but that kind of is going to leave them stuck and not able to do anything that needs doing. So
Can I ask you what you think of Keir Starmer?
I have no fixed opinion on Keir Starmer. I think a leader needs to be somebody who sadly needs to be charismatic, needs to have leadership values that are valued by the modern populace. I loved Gordon Brown. I thought Gordon Brown would have been the absolute right person to lead our country, but he was not the charismatic leader that the country wanted nor needed at the time. I think Keir Starmer has that about him. I don't necessarily think he's the right leader.
How much do you trust some of the politicians and prime ministerial candidates at the moment?
not very much, to be honest.
And why not?
It seems like either they're just playing their cards very close to their chest, in the case of, say, Keir Starmer. I mean, Rishi Sunak is kind of hasn't done a lot to earn trust based on the last year or so he's been in power. To be honest, I don't actually know a great deal about the others at the moment, other than Farage, but let's not go there.
We can go there if you want.
No, it's all right.
I find it really difficult to make a decision. I don't know, it's so hard. I find it really hard.
Are there any particular reasons why? And does it have anything to do with like who's running?
Yeah, and I don't think they say it in like, I say layman's terms. They say it so people who understand.
Okay.
And when they talk, I don't understand what they're talking about. So I don't think I've got any right to vote if I don't understand what they're talking about.
Okay, interesting. Have you voted previously?
Funny enough, I voted to stay in the EU, and I was devastated when we didn't. So that broke my heart a little bit. So I haven't, so that's probably, maybe that is why I'm not voting again, because I suppose you didn't get the outcome you wanted.
How much do foreign policy issues and matters matter to you as you're going to vote and who you're going to vote for?
They do matter a lot, and they've been conspicuously absent in the debates. I haven't really seen any discussion about what's happening in Palestine, which is a bit disappointing.
Okay.
Or elsewhere in the world, you know.
You'd want them to have a clearer stance on it?
Yeah, or at least say what, because they're going to be a pretty big big deal in the next few years, and the government's going to have to be doing something. So it would be nice to know what their position is first.
I don't think it's anything any government can, but the polarisation of our society is getting to be a massive problem. And as a parent to teenage children, I think to the increased polarisation of opinions and the breakdown further and further and further of minority opinion and not being being so divisive is a real challenge. And I want to see that change. But I don't believe that's a political challenge, but it's a societal one. And I think the society is broken because our leaders have broken our society.
I think normally, people just think the Conservatives are going to win, and this time it's very, very different. Chances are they definitely won't. But yeah, I think it's really hard to know who to vote for because a lot of what you see is just very contradictory, and they'll kind of say that one party said one thing, they actually haven't said that, and they'll really try and mislead you. But people can only believe what they see and what they read, and you read, not everything's true. So I think it's quite difficult to know who to vote for.
Very interesting. And do you think other people share your feeling of being a bit confused at the situation and the election situation?
For my age, so I'm 38. For my age, yes, probably my generation. The younger generation, so I work with 24, 26, 27-year-olds, they know more about it than I do.
Oh, wow.
So again, I'm just listening to them and I'm out, I don't understand.
How important are kind of foreign policy issues to you guys? And one of the big ones at the moment, and each of the parties, more so Labour, have been pressed on it more, Palestine and what's happening in Palestine and Gaza and Israel right now. How important are things like that to you guys?
Really important. I mean, you see all the videos of what's happening and it's just awful. And I just think it's so easy to ignore it when it's not happening to you. And I just think if it was the other way around, I'd want people to help me. So I think it's super important. At the end of the day, people are suffering and that's just not right.
Does it play a part when you're coming to vote?
Yeah, definitely. I have to admit, I don't know a huge amount about it. I still need to go through all of their manifestos and stuff before I vote. Yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really important that I think they both have a stance on it, and I think, as a British person, all we want to see is just peace and harmony. So I think both of them are kind of said that they're gonna, kind of stand for a ceasefire, but I think I will always stand with Palestine, and I think it's always a really important issue when there's so many deaths and so many awful things going on. You just want it to end. So
what do you think the kind of general atmosphere in the UK is heading up to this election? Are people well informed? Do you think people know what they're doing, know what they're voting for? And
I think I include myself in this, to be honest. There's quite a lot more apathy than I would hope for. It seems like everyone is kind of thinking, oh well, the Tories are bad, and that's as far as it goes, which isn't maybe the most helpful thing in terms of making some progress. But that's how it feels anyway.
Okay. And how different is that to other previous elections?
In a way, it almost feels less polarised now, which is maybe good, but not necessarily less positive. Or sorry, not necessarily more positive.
I feel like the younger generation are more likely to go out and vote this time round. The older generation will always vote regardless. I still think the older generation is very conservative. I think the younger vote...
Is this mid-generation?
I think the younger vote's going to have a massive influence on this outcome, because I don't think the younger generation necessarily used to go out and vote, but I believe they might do this time.
I could go on for hours, but you really don't want me to.
No, I think that's good enough for now.